thank you for being with us today. We have the pleasure to meet today with the Honorable John P. Manley. We will meet him and ask him questions today. I will first let Senator Loffreda introduce him officially.
Thank you, and I'm glad to see everybody here this morning. It's a snowy day here in Montreal, and Geneviève, thank you for the introduction. And as I previously said before beginning, and I want to congratulate Marc-André for the exceptional job he does with the group and around the world. And it's always insightful and always informing us all, and always with exceptional guests. And this morning is no exception. So, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests and young citizens of the world everywhere, it's a pleasure to be with you this morning. As an independent senator from Quebec, it's an honor for me to say a few words about our esteemed guest of honor, the Honorable John P. Manley. Before I do, I would like to take a moment to offer a few remarks about the young citizens of the world for our audience of teachers and students. The young citizens of the world, under the leadership, exceptional leadership, I may add, of Marc-André Tremblay and a team of exceptional teachers and school administrators have been diligently working to amplify the voices of our youth, both here and abroad. Originally founded as a school club at Blessed Sacrament School in Vancouver, the group has focused its efforts on providing a platform for young people to express their ideas and engage in meaningful conversations with various influencers, leaders, and individuals from diverse fields, including academia, arts and culture, sports, science, technology, and industry, and of course, politics. The power of politics, right? Today, YCW is active in hundreds of schools across Canada and in nearly 30 countries worldwide. In 2021, they received the distinguished honor of becoming a patron organization of Her Excellency, the Right Honorable Mary Simon, Governor General of Canada. They have published no less than 74 interviews to date, with a focus on the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, on the vital topic of truth and reconciliation, and on other causes cherished by their guests. The talents, insights, and passions of these young leaders and their teachers from coast to coast to coast paint a vivid tapestry of the diverse and powerful voices that define our future. I had the pleasure of joining the group as one of their early guests a few years ago, and I was really delighted and privileged and honored to be able to do that. And a few years ago that was, and I was impressed by the thoughtful, insightful, and well-documented exchanges we shared. It was a very rewarding experience. Looking ahead, I am delighted to announce two upcoming interviews that promise to be nothing short of exceptional. In January 2024, the young citizens of the world have secured an interview with Ziauddin Yousafzai. Hold on, I'll try that again. Ziauddin Yousafzai. I think I got that right. Marc-André gives me the thumbs up. I got that right. Sorry about that. I missed it the first time, but as long as we correct ourselves and get it right. Mr. Yousafzai will discuss his extraordinary work as a co-founder of the Malala Fund and share his experiences as the father of an inspirational global peace advocate. Equally exciting is the news that an interview with the legendary, Marc-André, you never cease to amaze me, Oprah Winfrey is on the horizon. The young citizens of the world continue to reach for the stars, bringing forth voices that inspire, challenge, and shape the narrative of our shared future. And today is a great day, a wonderful day for all of us. It is with great enthusiasm that we welcome the Honorable John P. Manley as his 75th guest of this extraordinary series of interviews. His presence adds another layer of richness to this platform, sharing his wisdom and experience with the young citizens who look to him as an inspiration, a source of inspiration. John P. Manley is a Canadian politician and business leader who has made significant contributions to both the public and private sectors. Born on January 5th, 1950 in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, Mr. Manley earned a Bachelor of Arts degree from Carleton University and a Bachelor of Law degree from the University of Ottawa. He entered politics and became a prominent figure in the Liberal Party of Canada. He was first elected to the House of Commons in 1988, representing the riding of Ottawa South. Throughout his political career, Mr. Manley held several key ministerial positions, showcasing his versatility and leadership capabilities. Notable roles including serving as Minister of Industry, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Finance, and Deputy Prime Minister of Canada. As Minister of Foreign Affairs, he played a crucial role in addressing international issues, including Canada's responses to 9/11 attacks and our nation's involvement in the war in Afghanistan. After leaving politics, Mr. Manley transitioned to the private sector, where he continues to contribute his expertise. He became President and Chief Executive Officer of the Business Council of Canada, a nonprofit organization representing the chief executives of major Canadian corporations. In recent years, he also served as chairman of the board at CIBC, and he continues to be active in many other spheres. John Manley, the Honorable John Manley, is known for his pragmatic and diplomatic approach to politics, as well as his dedication to public service and economic development in Canada. His extensive experience in both government and the corporate world has made him a respected figure in Canadian leadership circles. Mr. Manley, your presence here today is a testament to the kindness and support you have already shown to the young citizens of the world. We extend our deepest gratitude for your commitment to nurturing the potential of these vibrant and engaged young minds, and may your continued friendship and support serve as a beacon of encouragement as they embark on this journey of discovery and empowerment. So thank you for being here. Thank you to Marc-André for giving me this opportunity to introduce you, and for Geneviève for being such a wonderful MC to share the platform with this morning, and all the students, of course. So thank you. The floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Senator, for this great introduction. We're looking forward to hear what like the beautiful things that Mr. Manley has to share with us. And we're going to start with questions. The question number one comes from the territory of Yukon. Question asked by Ashley Cummings, member of the board of directors for Young Citizens of the World, Inuit activist and Prime Minister Youth Council alumni. Is for you, Ashley. Go for it.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here this morning. I was wondering what inspired you to pursue a career in politics, and how did you navigate the early stages of your political journey?
Well, good morning, Ashley. Thank you for the question. And I must say, one of the side benefits of having had a career in politics was that I got to visit the Yukon quite a few times. Not often beyond Whitehorse, but it's such a spectacular part of our country. Even though it's either all dark all the time or all light all the time, but that can be adjusted to, I think. Why did I go into politics in the first place? It was, something that had been more or less in the early stages of my life and my upbringing. I grew up in a household in which politics was frequently discussed and debated, in fact. As I recall, my mother tended to vote conservative and my father voted liberal, and they often didn't agree on political things. But there's one thing they always did agree on, which was the importance of politics in giving, in setting the tone for the country and giving leadership to the country, and being a vehicle for public service. And so from those early conversations came an interest and a belief that it was an avenue of worthy public service. And so I went about my life. I was never, I didn't go and join all of the youth clubs and political parties or anything like that. But at a certain stage in my life, I thought, this is always something I believed was worth doing. And I don't want to be sitting on my rocking chair one day thinking, I wonder what would have happened if I'd given that a try. And I you ask about navigating the early stages. There's a lot of navigation to do. Canadian politics is incredibly grassroots. And at the very basic level, if I want to be a candidate, I want to be a Liberal candidate in Ottawa South. And I had to go and knock on people's doors and not only convince them to support me, I had to convince them to give me, sign a paper and agree to become a member of the Liberal Party in Ottawa South. There were other people that also wanted to be the candidate. We had a meeting that everyone needed to get their supporters to, where the candidate was ultimately chosen. And it took a lot of very hard door-to-door, person-to-person work to assemble enough people that I could win that nomination. And that's what I did. I was 37 years old at the time. And I was at a stage in my legal career when becoming a member of Parliament, reduction in pay. I had 3 little kids at home, aged 9, 6, and 1. And I've never regretted it ever since.
Thank you, Ashley, for your question. Now let's travel to Saskatchewan from River Heights School. River Heights School in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, a question by Mr. Chris Ford and his students.
Right on. Hello, Mr. Manley. My name is Chris Ford, and I'm happy to be joined with the grade 6 class of my school, Madame Huppé, and the grade 8s, Monsieur Markham, and the principal, Mrs. Hilson. And I very much appreciate getting to speak with you this morning. A lot of politicians can be so fixed in their thoughts and scared to admit mistakes that there isn't enough thoughtful debate to actually solve problems that we face. But with you, however, I can recall times when you took the time to listen to the public and had the courage to even change a government decision. And I thought that showed bravery and thoughtfulness on your part. And I think we need more of this in our world. In our grade 7 and 8 classes, we have been working very hard to understand the complex history of Israel and Palestine and the situations that's going on there today. All students in our class have written a letter to our local MP to help achieve a long-lasting peace, and we're trying to figure out what more we can do as a class and a country so meeting with you is very valuable to us. So thank you for doing so. I have a student here who lives in Israel, and he was there until the Hamas attacks and will be going back soon. So he has bravely shared with our classes some of his experiences, and he now has a question for you.
Hello, I'm Oscar. I've lived in Israel since 2020.
Nice and loud.
And I came to Canada because of the war, and this is my question. Can you explain the role of the Deputy Prime Minister? What are some of the top challenges Canada was facing during your time in this role? And what can a Deputy Prime Minister or a Foreign Affairs Minister of Canada do today in a situation such as the Israel-Hamas conflict?
It's a good question, Oscar. In fact, there isn't really a described role for the Deputy Prime Minister in our system. It's not like the Vice President of the United States. If the Prime Minister dies, it doesn't mean the Deputy Prime Minister becomes the Prime Minister. That there's another process involved in that. And when my Prime Minister, Jean Chrétien, asked me to be Deputy Prime Minister, I remember somewhat brazenly saying to him, well, sir, I'm Foreign Minister and I liked that job, but I don't just want a title. Like, what is the job? And so he proceeded to lay out a lot of things that he wanted me to do. And then, like the current Deputy Prime Minister, I later became Minister of Finance as well. So that became one of the principal roles. But briefly, I was often called upon to substitute for the Prime Minister. I took his questions in question period in the House of Commons when he was unable to be present. I would preside over caucus and cabinet meetings when he wasn't there. I also had a responsibility for a number of important entities that the government controlled. That was all part of the assignments that I was given by Mr. Chrétien in order to give substance to the role. I also did some international travel in that role, including, I recall, going to India shortly after taking the job to represent Canada. And in that role, I went to Afghanistan shortly after that, very soon after the Taliban had fallen from power in 2002. So there were a lot of things to do. What can Canada do in the current situation? The truth is not very much. You know, Oscar, you've just come from Israel. You know how complex the situation is. Hard for Canadians. I've been there many times. I've been to Gaza several times in the days when I was in office. It's not intuitive for Canadians, especially on the prairies where you are, to understand how small that little piece of geography really is. I mean, you're living in Saskatchewan. It's enormous. The distance from the Mediterranean Sea to the Jordan River is not very long. And you've got a lot of people in a very tight community where history has been complicated, to say the least, because of the interests of a number of world religions in that particular space. Canada's position has been and has been since my time in office, it continues to be, that the best way to develop a lasting peace is for the Palestinians to have a state of their own in that area that is built on the recognition of Israel's right to be there and to exist. And it's only by mutual recognition and cooperation that we can have a lasting peace. And I think that although it's been volatile for decades, there have been periods when we've had more or less some stability and relative peace. That was broken on October 7th. And I think that everyone that observed the events of that day was horrified by the actions that were taken. I think as we've seen the war unfold, as I think it's well recognized, the sympathy that was felt for Israel as a result of the attacks of October 7th has tended to dissipate somewhat as the response to those attacks has been very forceful. But my personal view, and I think the Canadian view, is that you can't build a peace until the hostages are released, until the perpetrators of the attacks on October 7th, Hamas, lay down their arms and are prepared to accept the ongoing existence of Israel. And then it will be time for Israeli forces to withdraw from Gaza, and hopefully we can re-enter a period of some peace and stability. But I think there are families of over 200 people who are still waiting to see their loved ones released as hostages from Gaza. And I don't anticipate that politically or practically Israel can relent very much until they see those hostages released. So it's a very difficult and very painful situation for all of us to observe, especially those of us with friends and in many cases family who are still in the region and suffering the consequences of the violence that launched in October.
Thank you for this answer. Let's go even more west from Cloverdale Catholic School in Surrey, British Columbia. A question by the Student Council and their principal, Mr. Clive E.
Hi, my name is Bella, and I'm a grade 7 student from Cloverdale Catholic School. My question for you is, You've held various leadership roles, including as chairman of the board at CIBC. How do you view the current financial difficulties facing young people, such as inflation, housing challenges, and economic uncertainties?
Hi, my name is Josephine, and I'm also a grade 7 student from Cloville Catholic School. My question for you is, how can the rising generation navigate these issues effectively?
I think that these are really good questions, by the way. And Marc-Andre didn't promise me easy questions. It's a good thing he didn't, because he'd have broken his promise already, going from the Middle East to the current financial issues. The challenges that young people are facing now are really quite different from anything that I confronted when I was younger. Partly brought on, and truthfully, I think some of the situation we're dealing with at this very moment results from the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, when governments were forced to shut down the global economy, and then to keep it functioning by keeping money being produced so that people were able to continue to live their lives. And the result of that has been that while people continued to have funds and wanted to spend them, there weren't a lot of things for them to spend them on, because the production of the things that people bought and the services they wanted to buy was slowing down. And so when you've got a lot of demand and not a lot of supply, you're going to have prices go up, and that's produced inflation. Same is true in the housing market. We lost a period of time when supplies necessary for the construction of new homes was running short, and homes were not being built. In Canada, it's particularly a challenge because we've had very strong patterns of immigration, which is good for our country. It supports the growth of our country. But when households are being created faster than homes for them to live in are going to be created, then you're going to have an inflation of house prices. And that's exactly what we've seen. So I think we're going to need to be very innovative in order to solve some of these problems. I think we're going to have to recognize that we'll need to, as a broad national community, support the educational and training objectives that young people have, making sure that they're not turned away from the doors of our educational institutions or training schools because they can't afford the price of admission. And we've got to be more innovative about housing. We've got to make it easier for housing to be constructed. We don't have a shortage of land in Canada, so that's an advantage that we've got. We've got lots of land, but we do take a long time, usually at the local government level, to approve projects. We've got to accelerate some of that. But also, we've got a shortage of people with the necessary skills. So we need, when we're designing, our patterns of immigration, for sure we need well-educated people, but we need skilled people as well. We need electricians, we need plumbers, we need carpenters, we need people who can plan construction, we need people who understand the supply chains that are necessary, that can manage building. We need to accommodate people in more varied forms of housing, denser. So in some cases higher, but in many cases we need to lower expectations with respect to everyone having single individual dwellings. More people will need to live in apartments and duplexes and triplexes in order for us to build the housing that we need. So a combination of better planning, getting the right skills, getting people into housing that we can build more quickly and more affordably, and some of that's going to require a lot of innovation. Those are, I think, some of the solutions. But I have to tell you, you may be young enough that those solutions could actually benefit you, but it will not be overnight. For young people that are in their 20s and early 30s now that are trying to start out, it's going to be very challenging for them over the next 5 to 10 years.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. Let's stay in British Columbia from Blessed Sacrament School in Vancouver, BC. A question by grade 5 students, Demi, Damien, and Declan.
Hi, I'm Demi, a grade 5 student. We know you're extremely busy and we greatly appreciate the time you've dedicated to us today.
Hello, my name is Damien and I am also a grade 5. Considering your extensive network and unique experience in Canada, would you be willing to give a boost to our young individuals to secure interviews with other leaders in the field of finance and politics?
Louder, please.
I'm going to need that question repeated a little bit.
Damien is going to do it again. Closer to the screen and much louder.
Considering your extensive network and unique experience in Canada, would you be willing to give a boost to our young individuals to secure interviews with other leaders in the field of finance and politics?
I still had trouble.
Yeah, he's just asking if you would be so kind to help us introduce some future interviews, some ideas for future interviews.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But you've got Oprah coming.
For instance, we've been eager to get a response to make the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau for several years. Could you join our efforts to send a message to his team?
So the Prime Minister or former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien, you know?
Oh, Monsieur Chrétien, I can certainly help with him because he's somebody that I see regularly. Mr. Trudeau, not so much. So, but
that would be a great start. That would be wonderful to meet Monsieur Chrétien.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd love to do something like this.
Mr. Manley, are there final words of hope you could give to our young global citizens listening to us today? What message would you like to send to them?
Geneviève, we're going to repeat that because we cannot call ourselves young global citizens. I have to edit that. Young citizens of the world. We changed our name.
Oh, no longer young global citizens.
Yeah,
young citizens. I like that, young citizens of the world.
Yeah, I
okay.
like that too. It's a perfect translation for French.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Okay.
I think it's a great theme because
I think I have to restart my question because we don't have it. Hold on. Okay. Mr. Manley, before we let you go, would you have a message to send to our young citizens of the world, a message of hope?
Well, thank you, Geneviève, and thank you all for the questions and the thoughts. I think the answer to your question lies in the question itself, because when we talk about citizens, we're talking about citizenship. And all of us own that citizenship of the global community, of the world community. And citizenship implies certain rights. In Canada, we have many rights, and we have a charter of rights. But citizenship also implies some responsibilities. And I think as citizens of the world, we all share the responsibility to try to make the world a better place, a sustainable place for our fellow citizens. It's something that we each need to take as a responsibility for ourselves to take on, not just for someone else to do, or not for us to criticize what somebody else is or isn't doing, but for us to take on responsibilities of helping, of caring, of sharing, of making the world a better place for our fellow citizens. And if we can do that collectively and together, and I have more hope for the coming generations than I have even for my own or those that have preceded me, then I think we can one day say we've made the world a better place. And that's what I would hope for all of the young citizens of the world.
Thank you so much for your precious time, Mr. Manley. Thank you. And thank you, every young citizen of the world, for the questions. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us today. And we'll see you some other time. Bye.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you, Marc-André, Geneviève, and Mr. Manley. Thank you. Pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. See you all.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Merci, Marc-André. Merci, Geneviève. Thank you.